Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be here, and especially it's lovely to be here with Julia from Ukraine. And we are going to talk about how to adapt your marketing in uncertain times. This will take a little bit less than an hour. And the session is recorded, and you will get the link afterwards. So you can always come back to us and remind yourselves what we have been talking about. But we are here. My name is Anne Laitinen. I work as a CEO at Buorre marketing agency. We are specialized in the international marketing and expanding the businesses in international markets. And we have here also Julia from Ukraine. Julia, you could say a couple of words in this.
Yeah, hello everybody, and I'm extremely happy to join the webinar and share experience and insights from Ukrainian market. And before I start, I would like to thank you, your people and your government for the strong support of Ukraine and our people from the very beginning of the war. We appreciate your help very much, and we will never forget your input. And moving to my brief intro. So I have been in marketing and ad industry over 20 years, and during that time I've changed my occupation at least 5 times. So I was a journalist, editor, PR manager, SMM manager, and marketer. And now I'm a strategist and entrepreneur. So I have a lot of experience in media, fashion, beauty, lifestyle, luxury, and retail industries. And I adore studying, get new skills, knowledge, experience, and this is my true obsession. My recent hobbies are coding, so I mean like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and personal finance. And currently I help marketers and founders of small, medium business and startups in creative and tech industries find and choose creative talents who accurately solve their content tasks. So very happy, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, Julia. It's great to be here. And I know that you would like to hear immediately what Julia has to say, but you have to listen to me for a couple of minutes before that. And thank you, Julia. I get so emotional so easily, so I almost started to cry during your opening. But it's great to be here. It's great to do the cooperation with you and with Ukraine, and I think everybody who are here in the audience today will share the same feeling. Okay, so we are talking about Ukraine today. So I encourage you to donate to Red Cross to support the Ukrainian people. Here is the link, or you can use, of course, any source you want to. But I wish you to when you are in front of this subject, I wish you to do some charity at the same time. At Buorre, we are also donating 50 euros of every single kick-off meeting what is held in January. So I will do my personal donation here, but as a company, we will do the donation after the January as well. So normally I would ask you not to multitask, just listen, but now I ask you to multitask to do this thing during the webinar at the same time. But what about Ukraine? What do we know about Ukraine? I have been working with the Ukrainian companies already before the war, and especially before the war, concentrating to the internationalization of the companies which want to make the business with European companies or the American companies. And there is a lot of potential in Ukraine. There has been, there is, and there will be. Well, let's be honest here. Most of us didn't put any attention to Ukraine before the war. So practically now we know where Ukraine is. We know what's happening there, and unfortunately that is not good things what's happening there now. But there will be a bright future for sure, and there are some huge reasons why we should think about the Ukraine, why we should think about Ukraine via our businesses at the moment already. So if we are talking about the Ukraine as a country, it's a highly educated country, first of all. And of course, it has a long European Union border, which makes business easier always with the country. The population is huge compared to Finland, especially. 42 million people living in Ukraine, and it's the largest territory in Europe. Also, it has the rich natural resources, which is not that well known in Europe. We are calling Ukraine a breadbasket of the world because it exports more than 400 million people worldwide, and there are more than 800 million individuals living in the neighboring consumer markets, which makes Ukraine a critical component of the global supply chain. Ukraine has also 20 of the raw materials that are considered critical, for example, lithium, cobalt, graphite, zirconium, etc. And very important thing is that Ukraine has more than 20 free trade agreement with 47 countries, including European Union. So there are very good reasons to think about Ukraine when we are thinking about the strategies of our businesses in the future. And as a person who has been working with the IT sector and the software and digital sector a lot, there are 240,000 IT specialists and engineers in the markets, huge amount. And one more thing to add there, that the Ukraine's government is very investor friendly. It has been, it is, and it will be. So they have renewed the legislation and governmental efforts to reform in dealing in land market, for example, digitalization, government services, etc. And there is this kind of like vision behind there that Ukraine 2.0, a country where opportunities turn into investment project in an hourly basis. So investments are moving fast forward, and there are lots of business potential there. But I have been discussing with quite many European financial specialists and investors, and their opinion is quite solid. So it is that now is the correct time to think to the future. Now may not be the correct time to invest exactly now, but think about it and plan the future. Every war has come to its end eventually, and of course we are all hoping that this war will end rather sooner than later. There will be new investment possibilities, lots of them, and especially when Ukraine is a European Union candidate and gets the status, it makes again easier to make the trade with Ukraine. Nevertheless, Ukrainian economy will recover quickly. It means that there will be unlimited amount of opportunities to the investors. For example, in the food industry, in agriculture industry, IT, auto supply industry, construction, especially construction industry, and e-commerce, which becomes kind of like default form of selling goods in the country, not only add-on for the businesses. Yes, there are lots of things that we should consider from our behalf, but also from Ukraine behalf. It's also when investing to Ukraine, it's an act of goodness. So, but let's talk about today's subject. I have, I think, 4 or 5 slides here, so don't worry, I'm not speaking too long here. Adaptive marketing in uncertain times is what we are talking about today. And first of all, what is marketing adaptation. What do you do actually when you're adapting marketing tactics or marketing operations? When you do it, normally it's like if there are new circumstances like the pandemics or economical situations are changing or the behavior of the consumers is changing. Well, the extreme situation in Ukraine at the moment, the war. When we are going to the new markets, we have to be able to change the product or the message or the brand. It's all adapting. And the third one, a little bit sarcastic here, but when willing to sell more. I will go back to that later on. So if we are talking about the new circumstances, if you have a plan, you can have the scenarios of the plan. So if you have defined your theoretical best, worst, and moderate scenarios, you could play out during the crisis from the perspective of the business, business's customers, and the critical partners. If you have only one plan, it's also good that you have even that one plan, because normally, in many cases, we forget to do the plans or we forget to execute the plans. So if we have a plan, we can modify the plan, we can have the scenarios. Everybody who has been working with me knows that I love the scenarios, and I love the idea that we have managed our risks in advance, even only thinking those possibilities through once, even though we wouldn't even have those in a written format. First, for example, we all know that we had the pandemic period here, and the Tokyo Olympic Games took place in the end of the global pandemic. If we as marketers, if we think that the business as usual is this in tactical level, that we will buy ads during the Tokyo Olympic Games to reach the customers, to get something out of the event. If we haven't thought that what we will do in the worst case scenario when the event might be cancelled just before the openings, for example, how we will reach the customers in that case. It's not for marketers, it's not enough that we are just like sitting here, oh, it didn't work, we can't do anything, it's all gone. If we have the plans, if we have the options gone through together with the team, together with the business, it must be, it can't be only relied on the simple high-level corporate scenarios, but we must go further in the department, in the brand, in the social media, everything. And we have to drill down to identify the specific challenges that customers, the brand, and the market organization could experience in each scenario, and identify the actions to take. So I've been working as an event producer in many huge events, for example, in the World Championships of the Athletics in Helsinki, in Paris. I was in Turin Olympic Games working there. And when we have the concrete event, it's easier for people to make the plans and make the backup plans and everything. But what comes to the digital format plans, it's not that easy that we remember to think through what if this happens. In Helsinki World Championships, we had the plan, what happens if the heavy rains hits in Helsinki, what happens to the press village, and actually that thing happened if somebody was there. It was awful, but we survived. We remember to do the backup plans if there are concrete actions behind that, but we don't that often remember to do those things when we have to like write these scenarios, the hypothesis of things. So then the next case is in the new markets, when we are internationalizing ourselves, when we are when we are conquering the new markets. We have to have the product market fit. It's always about adapting. We have to understand what the target group is willing to buy, why they are buying it from you, why would they buy it from you. Pizza is a good example. Pizza is a pizza. It's quite quite simple. But for example, Domino's, when they started their business in India, they understood in the very beginning that there are lots of vegetarians in India, and they had to change the ingredients of the pizzas. They weren't able to sell the salami or chicken pizzas that much because they want to maximize the potential there. In Finland, for example, we have the reindeer pizza, and you know, somebody are eating the pizza with pineapple. It has nothing to do with this, but I just wanted to put it out into a bad joke. But I have been living in Italy so many years that don't do it. Okay, but in the new markets, you have to be able to adapt the product. You have to be able to adapt the message, brand, service, your marketing, anything that makes it easier and makes it like nonsense to buy your product there, even if the product is pizza. Okay, then this sarcastic comment, when you're willing to sell more, you have to be adaptive. And this is the business as usual. If you remember anything else from my speech, it's this one. Marketing is about adapting the changes of the end users and end buyers' behavior. You cannot affect what's happening around you. The market is changing, the politicians are doing whatever they are doing. There are financial circumstances that are changing. Everything is changing all the time. So one of the most important thing to do in marketing is understanding your ICP, your ideal customer profile. So if there is changes in the behavior of your customers, you should react, therefore adapt. And if you don't know when and why, especially why the behavior changes, you have work to do with your ICP. You don't know in advance. It should be proactive. You should know it already in advance before it happens, because in that case you are already a little bit late. Spotify is a very good example. We have all the e-commerce market, the whole market is very good at that. So Spotify is successful because it adapts. So it just doesn't recommend the music based on the demographics of the customers, but based on the moods or special occasions or activities, where running music, you know, relaxation music, whatever, you know this, what's happening there. It's all about adapting the offering to that situation, what you need. But however, while we are adapting, we have to be loyal to our brands. Customer may like your brand just because it cannot be adapted. It won't change. I mean, if you buy Fiskars scissors and it feels different in your hand, you're like, what the heck is happening here? You can change the color, maybe, but you can't change the product itself. So in some luxury products, for example, or heavy industry products, they may benefit from adapting the services around the product, but not adapting the product itself. Okay, and back to the actual subject here again. Eventually, let's just do our jobs. As a marketers, we have to understand what is the core job, what we have to do, why we are in the company executing the marketing plan what we have. So of course, in crisis situation, there are some principles what we have to follow, but on certain times we have to understand what the end customer wants to buy. As I said in the previous webinar as well, for example, the recession is only about changing customer behavior. They want to use their money for somewhere else, for savings or electricity bills or whatever, but you have to find the way and the reasons behind it, and try to convince that you can actually be our customer still. The opportunity always lies in the middle of the difficulty, says Albert Einstein, not me, but I agree with Albert. So in crisis, it's extremely important to communicate with empathy, authentically, and we should focus on the building the long-lasting customer relationships. And I would say these are not too bad principles in a normal non-crisis situation neither. So when we are in a crisis situation, the basic things are the ones that matters most. And for us marketers, we should know and we should remember that the disruptions happen all the times. It doesn't mean that we should panic and stop all the activities, but there is always an opportunity, as Albert Einstein says as well. The crisis is an opportunity to, for example, to reinforce our company values or get more creative ideas. I mean, 3 years ago, nobody would have think that restaurants could sell more than the building capacity is gives the possibility. So the restaurants started to sell out, even though they weren't able to take the people in, and now they continue it. So they are able to change the business. And I think long term, and I mean, for example, in Ukraine now, the situation is that, of course, the companies can't plan that much to the future and long-term plans, but they can have the scenarios as well. If the war ends tomorrow, what we do in that case? There will be celebrations, there will be different opportunities for different companies. If the war still continues for a couple of years, hopefully not, or months or weeks, there can be different plans for different situations. And again, as I mentioned in the last webinar, crisis is always an opportunity to reposition ourselves, and that is something that marketing department can be responsible for. So there is always somebody who is stepping down from the stage. They are giving the market share just to pick up that is the long-hanging fruit. Somebody said that they're not believing for low-hanging fruits, but I do believe that there are some. When we see them, you always have to see the opportunity there. So if you want to renew your company image, if you want to take the new customer share in the market or whatever it is easier to do when the market is under the disruption. Okay, I know that you have been waiting for Julia, so I can't wait, me neither, that I can hear the case Mastercard, for example, especially, and Julia is sharing also some tips how we should adapt the marketing, what kind of things we should take into consideration in the crisis time when we are marketing our services. So Julia.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anne. So I just tell about Taker Maker service a few words. And from the very beginning, when I was a marketer, to find content creator was a real challenge. And as usual, as everybody, I was searching for contacts on Facebook or asking my colleagues and friends for contacts and content creators. And it took a lot of time and effort, and I cannot say that I was always happy with the results. So that is why I decided to launch Taker Maker, a web service of hand-picked talents offering content creation on demand. And by content, I mean photo, video, text, and design for business, social media, blogs, and websites. And currently, we help founders and marketers in creative and tech industries to find and choose talents who accurately solve their content tasks. Our experts evaluate every portfolio, and only 10% of content creators get access to our network. And this is why we are able to match the right talents with the right projects. And now we have over 200 freelance content creators and social media managers on our board. And I would like to start my part of presentation with a short story about the way of Ukrainian marketing during the wartime. Stopped the previous slide. Anne? Okay, yeah. No, stopped the next. Stop completely and adapted quickly. Yeah. So we are going through a global reset from a near total shutdown in the spring, in February and March actually, to the start of recovery a few months later. At the beginning of the war, all advertising completely disappeared and the market actually fell silent and was waiting for the development of the events. Fortunately, Ukraine has a mature and very professional market that has adapted quite quickly. And thanks to this, despite everything that is happening around us right now, we continue to notice the development of global trends in the market, such as digital out of home, retail media, influence marketing, and native advertising. Rejection of offline. Many companies completely abandoned offline communication in the first months of the war, and the volume of TV, outdoor, print, radio advertising decreased dramatically. At the same time, internet advertising suffered the smallest losses. So the digital is number one, and today digital is confidently moving towards become the number one media in Ukraine. After all, this is because the flexibility of approaches, the diversity of formats, and the speed of campaign management. And that is very important in uncertain times. Moreover, Ukrainian consumers cannot always vote for a brand with their wallet, but they are happy to vote with reposts, comments, any other engagement on social media. So it's one more advantage of digital channels in uncertain period. Corporate social responsibility. So right now it's a must, and in Ukraine every business has already felt how important social responsibility and support of the country during the difficult wartime. And therefore a clear position came to the fore in the marketing. I mean, how does our brand bring victory closer? What is useful right now? What do our employees help the army of volunteers or people who are in difficulties or displaced person or kids? And the next, it's maximum effect, optimal budget and short deadlines. So fast and cost-effective solutions are now very relevant for all industries and categories. Businesses looking for the maximum effect for the optimal level of investment in the short time. So quickly made or created and launched, this phrase is perfectly reflects the mood of our companies. And moving to local insights about channels, formats, messages, and meetings. No direct advertising. In the first 6 months after the start of the war, the main marketing tools were PR, social native projects in online media, and corporate social media. And it was clear for everybody that spending money on advertising when your people are suffering every day is a bad decision. As for the formats, there were two obvious advantages of video content in this period of time: engaging the audience quickly and keeping the brand or company top of mind. And Ukrainian marketers experimented a lot with integrations on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Messengers with social media. And it is very interesting fact that while marketers were waiting for social networks to defeat television as a communication channel, social media themselves have been defeated by messengers, especially Telegram and Viber. And since the beginning of the war, hundreds of channels in Telegram and Viber with various content have appeared in Ukraine, and recently some of them have millions of followers. This miracle is explained very simple. The messengers are working good enough even during electricity cuts off, telecom problems, and weak internet. The native integration. The safest form of advertising today in Ukraine is native ad integration. It is always included into the context of the situation, corresponds to the spirit of the times, challenges, changes, has relevant messages, and takes into account the pain points of customers and their reactions. Actually, before the war, marketers rarely included native advertising in the marketing mix because it is not about quantity and performance, but about quality, image, reputation, messages, and meanings. And my favorite one is situational content. It's like one more last year trend is the rapid development of situational marketing. In my opinion, Ukrainian situational marketing will turn into a separate art direction in a little while. So it is closely related to the life of Ukrainians. For example, meetings in Ramstein and hype around Leopard tanks. Visit of the Prime Minister Sanna Marin and her photo with a legendary dog Patron. The return of Kherson with its iconic watermelons that became one of the symbols of our freedom. And however, you need to work very carefully with this trend, with this instrument. Being fast in reaction, appropriate and creative are extremely important. And I hope that this trend will become a topic, a subject of our separate or next webinar. And the last one, but not least, and my favorite part, it's messages and tone of voice. The correct message and meaningful content become more critical than in peacetime. Companies are focusing on patriotism, benefits, charity, support, contribution, and consumers in their turn increasingly pay attention to the patriotic position of the brand, its country of origin, and more often refusing the goods of the aggression countries like Russia and Belarus. The information field is extremely tense right now. Therefore, there is also a place for entertaining content, because it is important for customer to be able to distract himself from the news, from the front line, and find solace. Such content brings back the feeling of normality from the former life and supports optimism and can even inspire. In difficult times, a must-have on communication is tone of voice, and people's lives during wartime are full of stress, and that's why the audience wants to see support, empathy, and honesty from the brand side. And now moving on the story of our project with Mastercard, I can highlight that Mastercard applied several trends from this list. So it's maximum effect, optimal budget, and short deadlines, clear social responsible position, situational content, new accents and meanings, and empathy in the tone of voice. And our case of Mastercard. So since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, being useful has been a key task of local and international business in Ukraine. And by being useful, I mean being useful to customers, volunteers, armed forces, medicians, and other critical infrastructure services. And before the arrival of international aid, it was Ukrainians who became the largest source of funding for many volunteer initiatives. For example, in 3 days, we were able to collect hundreds of millions of dollars for the needs of the people and the army. But the problem, over time, the nations began to decrease, and new tasks arose to motivate Ukrainians to donate regularly, even small amounts, because every donation is important. Anna, could you switch a slide? The next. Okay. So Mastercard paid attention to this trend of decreasing donations and proposed the initiative to the Ministry of Social Policy to stimulate Ukrainians additionally to make donations and promote the idea of help in general. It was the beginning of collaboration of Mastercard and the platform of iDopomoga, which helps everyone who suffered from Russian aggression with food, medicine, and fuel. And the idea, the next. Our colleagues from marketing service agency in Ukraine at Sapiens was responsible for developing the concept of the whole initiative and the mechanics. In the communication, the team proposed to use a trend that gained popularity thanks to Ukrposhta. It's the name of our state post office. So the regular issue of unique stamps dedicated to significant events and victories of Ukrainians during the war. Therefore, to motivate Ukrainians to donate regularly, Mastercard used just sets of unique stamps, especially created by Ukrainian illustrators. And next. Yes, the brief. At Sapiens turned to Takermaker with a request to select several illustrators who would create images of Help Legion in a short period of time, for sure, and transfer it to stamps. Images should be recognizable to donors, and everybody who are looking at the stamp had to recognize himself or herself in the image. And the next. Within 2 days, Takermaker selected 11 illustrators who matched the style of Mastercard and were ready to work as soon as possible. After the test task, at Sapiens selected 6 illustrators whose works were presented to Mastercard, and 2 illustrators were assigned to work on the project. Each artist created 6 illustrations. As for the mechanics of the project, the participant of this project should register on the iDopomoga platform, then help someone in need by making online donation with a Mastercard. For every 5 donations, the participant was guaranteed to receive a set of stamps with illustrations, and those who donated the most received a merge of set. It's another set of stamps, envelope, postcards, hoodie, and shopping bag, also with illustrations. And to sum up, I would like to highlight one more trend in uncertain terms. It is collaboration between very different companies from very different fields and industries that hardly imagine in a normal life. For example, a steel plant, a jewelry boutique, delivery service, and charity fund. And together they launch a very special project, Azovstal, a symbol of endurance. The bracelets made from the last pre-war batch of steel manufactured at this legendary Azovstal plant. And the initiative raised $500,000 in several months. So that's it from me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Julia. I just love this illustration. I just love this concept, and it's genius. Is it possible for Reina to get that hoodie, for example, or donate? Do you know? Because yes, I want to have that illustration somewhere.
Yes, it is ongoing project, so we don't have results, and that is why I cannot share the results of this, because it is going. So, and we have English version site of iDopomoga, and everybody can join.
So this is great. I mean, okay, maybe I just love the idea of the dream of the normal life. And meanwhile, Julia was speaking, I made my own, I don't know if you can see that, my own donation here, just to do one small step ahead with the normal life in Ukraine. And I think this illustration gives a very good idea that what people are actually dreaming of. It's the normal life, just the daily basis things that we are doing that we take more or less granted quite often. Okay, so if you haven't donated yet, do it now. I think Ida, could you shoot out the poll? Have you donated yet? Please answer to the poll so we can see what is going on behind the screens here. Let's wait a couple of moments. $50-50. You still have time. You also have time tomorrow. Okay, great. I hope as many as possible of you will make the donation for Ukraine. But hey, I have also some news before ending the presentation. We have the International Growth Tour coming during this spring with Buorre and Chris and Vasco, the internationalization consultant Jukka Salo, who will give the presentations and the ideas and the experiences of the, well, more or less heavy industry based internationalization. And we will be there talking about the marketing role in the internationalization projects. These dates are still preliminary. Most probably they won't change, but there is always the possibility for that. We will be in Rovaniemi on the 2nd of March, in Oulu 30th of March, in Vaasa 27th of April, and in Kouvola 25th of May. There is a reason why we are in Kouvola. It's a very sweet reason. And then we will have the main event in Helsinki 7th of June, and Julia will be there on site as well in person. So if you want to meet Julia, you should mark that date on the calendars already. There will be lots of speakers abroad, lots of speakers from Finland, and lots of companies internationalization cases, what we go through, the best practices, how you do the internationalization with a modern and cost-effective way. But meanwhile, if you have anything you want to speak with me or speak with Julia, there are the contact details. Especially in the international markets or the opportunities in the international markets. We are happy to help. We are happy to discuss and spar and change the ideas and experiences. And of course, you can follow us in the social media as well. But anyway, we hope to see you all in Helsinki in June, or in the smaller events everywhere in Finland during the spring. Thank you everybody for attending this webinar, and have a lovely day, have a lovely week, and let's make the Ukrainians' dreams come true. Thank you everybody.
Thank you everybody. Thank you very much for having me and hosting me.